Hi, girls, welcome back. Today we're talking about something that honestly we don't speak about enough. Should I study or should I not study? That's today's topic because when we reach that age, everyone calls adulthood, legally adults, independent, supposed to know what we're doing with our lives. Suddenly we face this huge question. Do I keep studying or do I stop? Well, because before school is not really optional. In most countries, education is compulsory until a certain age, usually until around 16. But after that, things change. You can work, you can stop studying, the law allows it. And suddenly, girls, we're standing there thinking, do I study? Do I not study? Am I studying because I want to or because my parents expect it? Am I studying because I truly love it or because society says that if I don't study, I'm failing? And honestly, we don't talk about this enough. We think about it all the time internally, but rarely out loud. We don't usually discuss it with friends. Sometimes not even with our parents or family, because somehow it feels like a taboo topic. And when we reach this point, I feel like we find ourselves facing three different paths. Path number 1, study, go all in, choose humanities or science, choose a degree, medicine, law, architecture, business. Pick something and commit years of your life to it. And that path can be beautiful. If you genuinely love it, if you wake up excited, if you know what you want. But let's be honest, not all of us know. Some of us are 20 and completely lost. And that's okay. Then comes path number 2, not studying. And this one is scary because people judge it immediately. But sometimes the reason isn't laziness. Sometimes you're exhausted, unmotivated, disconnected. You look around and think, wait, AI is coming. Robotics are growing. Jobs are changing. People study for years and still struggle finding work. So why am I doing this? And yes, girls, these thoughts exist. A lot of people have them. Some people see others living from government support. Others see creators making money online, influencers traveling the world. And suddenly the question becomes, should I just become an influencer? Can I avoid the traditional path? Can I work differently? And honestly, I get why people think that. Because social media makes everything look easier. But here's my opinion. I don't think the question is, should I study or not study? I think the real question is, what kind of life do I want? Because studying isn't only university. Learning isn't only degrees. You can study languages, skills, business, content creation, marketing, article. You can learn online. You can build things. You can reinvent yourself. But what I do think is dangerous is choosing nothing. Not studying, not learning, not growing, not because you chose another path intentionally, but because you gave up. Those are different things. So girls, if you're in your 20s and asking yourself, should I study? First ask, what do I actually want? Not what my parents want, not what society expects, not what Instagram says. What do I want? Because your 20s are already confusing enough. You don't need to have your entire life figured out. You just need to keep moving, keep learning, and allow yourself to change your mind. Because maybe today you don't want university, and tomorrow you do. Maybe today you want to work, and later you study. That's okay too. There isn't one correct path, only your path. So girls, as we said before, today we're talking about the 3 possible paths we can choose in our 20s. And let's start with the first one. Traditional education, formal studies, university, degrees, the path everyone expects. And first of all, let me say something clearly. If you choose this path, amazing. Seriously, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. You're not doing anything bad, you're not making a mistake, and this is not criticism. Actually, if you choose this path, life becomes easier socially because suddenly nobody questions you. Society approves. Your parents approve. Your family approves. Your friends expect it. Everybody kind of nods and says, perfect. She's doing well because you're doing what people expect. You're following the script. But here comes the question I want us to think about today. Is it a good path because it's good for me or because society already chose it for me? And another question, is this the path I want? Or is this the path my parents want, my family wants, society wants? Because honestly, girls, I don't know your parents. I don't know your family. But society? I know society. And yes, society definitely wants this path because it already exists. It's structured, it's organized, it's predictable. Study, graduate, get a job, build a career, done. And again, I'm not against it. But I do think it's important to reflect on it because it's also a path that was designed a long time ago. And maybe sometimes we follow it without asking enough questions. Now imagine this. You choose a degree: medicine, economics, law, architecture, whatever it is. And here's something interesting. Not everyone arrives there because of passion. Sometimes we choose because our friend chose it, or because our dad studied it, or because somebody said, "Oh, it has good career opportunities." And honestly, isn't that crazy when you think about it? Imagine saying, "I'm going to study medicine because it has good job prospects." Okay, but do you actually want to be a doctor? Well, not really. So what's the passion? The job security. Wait, so your passion is like employment rates? You're going to build an entire life based on market demand? And maybe for some people that works, but I think it's worth asking, does that life excite you? Does it inspire you? Or are you just choosing safety? Because those are different things. And then something else happens. You enter university, and girls who are listening and currently studying, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You start finding subjects that make you think, why am I studying this? What does this have to do with my future job? Because suddenly there are classes that feel like decoration, extra pieces, complements, things added to complete the structure. And again, I'm not talking about one degree specifically. This happens everywhere. And then you think, okay, so now I have to study this, memorize this, take exams on this, pass this, spend hours on this. But what is this actually contributing? Am I learning or am I completing a system? And that's not criticism, it's reflection. Then finally you finish your degree, you survived, you studied, you worked hard, you got good grades, and suddenly people tell you, oh, that's not enough anymore. Now you need another qualification, a master's degree, more studies, more certifications, more things for your CV, because now your CV needs to grow. And then you ask yourself, wait, is this still vocation or is this competition? Because those are not the same thing. And again, girls, I'm not attacking formal education. You absolutely learn. Everything you study leaves something inside you. Knowledge stays, experience stays, growth stays. My reflection is simply this. How much time do we spend on things that are not truly connected to what we want? And how many of us choose careers without actually feeling a real calling toward them? Because maybe the real question isn't, should I study? Maybe the question is, why am I studying this? And that changes everything. So girls, we've already talked about the first path, traditional education. Now let's move to the second option. And this one is choosing not to study at all, saying, no, I don't want to study. I'm not doing university. I'm not doing formal education. It doesn't interest me. It doesn't bring me anything. And I want us to stop here for a moment because this is important. Why do we sometimes arrive at this conclusion? Why do some of us reach this point? Because honestly, girls, this path worries me the most. And I'll explain why. Remember, we said there are 3 possibilities. Path 1, formal education. Path 2, not studying. Path 3, which we'll discuss next, non-traditional learning. But this middle option, doing nothing, disconnecting completely, stopping, giving up on learning altogether. This one is dangerous because usually it doesn't come from confidence. It comes from discouragement. Sometimes when we say, I don't want to study, what we actually mean is, I'm not motivated. I don't feel excited about anything. I don't see a future. I don't believe in society anymore. I don't think I matter. And girls, that hurts because that is not laziness. That is disappointment. That is feeling disconnected. And many girls in their 20s feel this. You look around and think, the future feels uncertain. AI is changing everything. Jobs are changing. People study and still struggle. So what's the point? And slowly that thought becomes, why even try? But this is where I want to tell you something. You cannot stay there. You cannot build your life from hopelessness. Because this path is not freedom. It's sadness disguised as freedom. And I need you to hear this. You are useful. You matter. You are needed. Your society needs you. Your people need you. There is something only you can bring. And yes, maybe right now you don't know what it is. That's okay, but it exists. Always. There's always something that excites you. Always something that moves you. Always something that gives you energy. Maybe you just haven't found it yet. Because sometimes girls tell themselves, I don't like anything. I don't feel passion. Nothing motivates me. And I don't believe that. I think the motivation is there, maybe hidden, maybe buried, maybe waiting, but it exists. And the real work is finding it, finding that thing that makes you wake up with energy, finding that thing where you can contribute, because that's the point. Not just surviving, contributing, helping, being part of something. And honestly, girls, why do you think I'm here doing this? Why do you think I keep talking to you through these podcasts? Do you think it doesn't take effort? Of course it does. It takes time, energy, preparation, commitment. But I do it because I believe in you. I believe girls in our generation need guidance, need conversations, need someone saying, you matter. Because girls between 15 and 25, we're all trying to figure life out. And we forget something very important. Every single one of us matters. Every single one. We all have value. We all have a place. The only thing is finding it. And here's the beautiful part. Your personality is unique, completely unique. There is nobody else exactly like you. Nobody. Your way of thinking, your sensitivity, your strengths, your dreams. Nobody has your combination. There are billions of people in the world. And still, there is only one you. So yes, you are special. And because of that, there is something that fits you. Something connected to who you are. Something waiting for you. So girls, this second option, this option of giving up, of staying in disappointment, for me, it isn't really an option. And with that said, let's move to the third path, because maybe that's where many of you will find yourselves. So girls, we've talked about path 1, traditional education. We've talked about path 2, giving up on learning completely. And now we arrive at the third option, the one many of you probably already know I love, non-traditional learning, alternative education, self-learning, building your own path. And honestly, girls, this option excites me. Now first, what do I mean by non-traditional education? For me, it's very simple. Non-traditional learning, alternative education, self-learning, building your own path. And honestly, girls, this option excites me. Now first, what do I mean by non-traditional education? For me, it's very simple. But this path fascinates me. And girls, this path starts with one word. Put it in capital letters, enthusiasm. That is the magic word. Because if you have enthusiasm, if you genuinely love learning something, this path becomes beautiful. Today, we live in a world full of opportunities, free opportunities, unlimited opportunities. The internet is full of tools, courses, videos, podcasts, books, documentaries, communities, resources. The internet today is probably the greatest encyclopedia humanity has ever built. Think about that. Never in history have people had so much knowledge available. So the question becomes, do I have the desire to learn? Because if the answer is yes, this path has no limits. You can go incredibly far. Imagine you love psychology, or fashion, or business, or content creation, or art, or AI, or languages. Do you necessarily need somebody standing in front of a classroom saying, these are the notes you have to memorize? These are the pages for the exam. Do you need that? Maybe yes. For some people, absolutely. But for others, their curiosity goes much further, because if you truly have passion, you won't stop at the exam. You'll go 10 times deeper, 100 times deeper. And honestly, girls, I know girls who are 15 years old and know more about certain topics than professionals. Not because they have degrees, because they have obsession, because they have curiosity, because they never stopped learning. And again, this is not an attack on universities. Not at all. I simply think education systems should evolve, become more practical, more flexible, more connected to real interests, more focused on what students actually want to become. Because sometimes traditional education can feel like a huge structure that keeps itself alive, but non-traditional learning feels different. It feels personal. It feels voluntary. It feels driven by passion. Now, where is the problem? Where is the difference? Simple. You go to a job interview, and they ask, show me your CV. That's the difference. Because if you learned everything yourself, who proves it? Who validates it? How do you demonstrate it? And honestly, girls, maybe this is one of the big questions of the future. Because imagine this. Instead of asking, what degree do you have? What if companies asked, show me what you know. Show me your skills. Show me your projects. Show me your work. Show me your talent. Because at the end of the day, what matters? The diploma or the knowledge? And maybe one day society will move more toward that. I don't know, but I do know this. If you choose non-traditional learning, You need one thing above everything else: enthusiasm. Because without enthusiasm, this path dies. Nobody gives you homework. Nobody forces you. Nobody checks on you. You do it because you love it, because you're curious, because you want more. And girls, that kind of learning, that learning without limits, honestly, I think it's beautiful. Well, girls, we've reached the end of today's episode. And honestly, this has been such an important conversation because this question, should I study or not study, is not just about education. It's about identity, future, purpose, and who we want to become. So let's make some final conclusions from the 3 paths we talked about. First of all, out of the 3 options, one of them is completely ruled out for me. And that is not learning at all, giving up, disconnecting, stopping. This option cannot be our path. We already talked about why, because usually it comes from disappointment, from lack of motivation, from losing hope. And girls, you cannot allow yourselves to stay there. Never, because you matter. And because there is always something waiting for you. Now, between formal education and non-traditional learning, I think the differences became quite clear. And let's be honest, those of you currently studying in university already know exactly what I mean. Sometimes we study subjects that have nothing to do with our future, subjects that require huge effort, huge amounts of memorization, hours and hours of preparation, exams, stress, pressure. And sometimes after all that effort, we ask ourselves, why was this necessary? Because yes, a lot of time gets invested in things that do not directly help the path we chose. And if millions of students are doing this every year, we're talking about millions and millions of hours. So yes, I think traditional education needs to evolve. I think it needs restructuring, more practical learning, more real experience, more flexibility, more connection to vocation. Because maybe then more people would study because they love it, and not because they simply arrived there by accident. Now, non-traditional learning, I think it is incredibly powerful for the world we live in today. Because nobody enters self-learning by accident. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to spend hundreds of hours learning this thing. Without passion, people who self-learn usually do it voluntarily because they want it, because they need it, because they love it. And that is enthusiasm. That is vocation. And honestly, girls, people who choose this path often learn a lot, deeply. Because today we have extraordinary resources, the best humanity has ever had. Books, videos, courses, communities, podcasts, information everywhere, sometimes even free. So yes, this path can be beautiful. But here's my advice. If you choose traditional education, go into it with real vocation. Choose something that moves you. And then don't stop there. Keep learning outside of it. Build your own education too, because learning should never end. Never. You cannot say, I have my degree. I have my master's. I already know enough. Because life will surprise you. And when you arrive at real practice, at real work, at real experience, you suddenly realize, wow, there is still so much to learn. And that feeling, that insecurity, that gap between theory and reality, you reduce it by continuing to learn forever. And if instead you choose only self-learning, I want you to know something. It is not a social taboo. You are not weird. You are not going against society. You are not less valuable. Because I know girls who learned by themselves and developed extraordinary knowledge. Girls who studied deeply because they truly loved what they were learning. And sometimes that depth becomes incredible. So girls, whatever path you choose, the important thing is not the title. The important thing is not society. The important thing is keep learning, never stop growing, never stop believing in yourselves, and never lose hope, because every single one of you is unique. There is nobody else exactly like you. You are valuable to yourselves, to your environment, and to society. I love you, girls, truly. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk. Let's build community. Let's support each other, and let's become better together every single day. See you in the next episode. Kisses, girls.